Everyone. Carlos here again. Welcome to This Week in Archaeology of 12th of June 2017, current year. Today, we're going to talk about us, humans, Homo Sapiens Sapiens, modern humans, I should say. How old are we? Well, up until very recently, we were about 200,000 years old, our species. But as archaeology is not a science that stands still, it moves, and it continues to evolve. Get it? It continues to strive to discover new, exciting things. It just so happens that actually there's two sites, but I'll just concentrate today on one of the most important sites of a discovery that has pushed back the age of our species, Homo Sapiens Sapiens, nearly 100,000 years. So I'm quite excited about this. I have linked in the description 3 of the studies. And a couple of articles. There's been articles on it from most major MSN newspapers and media, but I'm going to concentrate on a scientific scientific journal that talks about this, basically science. This time I'm slightly staying away from many of the mainstream medias, even though I've linked a BBC article, BBC Science article. It's still very, very valid. It's still very good. So, BBC's Science is still very reputable, unlike its news organization. But I don't want to talk about that. So I'm going to link to the article. I have all the links. I have all the in the description, all the relevant articles and studies that have been published. You guys can use those as basis for your inquiries if you want. Google is a friend. Don't be afraid to use it. Just don't go into the easily the most sensationalist ones. Look for peer-reviewed, reputable science magazines and publishing houses. So I'm going to start the talk about the article today. Yep, that's the one. It's from Life Science. And it starts off, the oldest fossils of our species push back the origins of modern humans, Homo Sapiens Sapiens. Never mind who the contributor is okay. First thing you can see, I'll just make this big. That's where the site is. It's in Morocco. And they found bones from Homo Sapiens Sapiens in this cave in Jebel Irhoud that dates to about 300,000 years. Well, they've dated them. They might not have. Let's see if they have it. Let's read the article. The oldest known bones of our species date back around 300,000 years now, have been discovered in a cave in Morocco. The fossils, which belong to 5 individuals, including a teenager and a young child, push back the origins of Homo sapiens by 100,000 years. Scientists say. Yes, they could have just said the archaeologists who excavated and etc. etc. The fossils also suggest that our species originated throughout the entire African continent instead of mainly in the eastern corner, as previous research has shown. Yeah, that's yes. I could. Let's cut this. Yes, up until now, the oldest Homo sapiens sapiens have been found in East Africa. because that's where we've been concentrating our attention. As we spread out into the whole of Africa, I am sure we're going to find more evidence of not just our Homo sapiens sapiens, but our ancestor, Homo Homo heidelbergensis, or and even other hominins that we have discovered, that we will discover and have discovered. For example, Homo naledi. So yeah, the findings suggest that in two studies published June 8, so this month, in the journal Nature. I've included two links in the description. One of them is behind a paywall, but it gets a good summary. The other one is an actual summary of what they found. So yeah, I don't have access to the full deal. One day when I get credentials to do that. But for now, I'll try and find I'll always try and find free to use, free access journals that have been published now. They represent the very roots of our species, the researchers said. As such, they help us clarify when and where Homo sapiens evolved from earlier lineages such as Homo heidelbergensis, yes, or Homo rhodesiensis. This one, yeah, I don't know enough about him, so I will have to research Homo rhodesiensis, but I do know enough about Homo heidelbergensis to find it credible, there's enough data that indicates that this species is our most direct ancestor, the one that not just Homo sapiens sapiens split, but Homo sapiens neanderthalensis, and even possibly Homo sapiens denisovians, and even a fourth one that we don't know much about. We only know that they have the DNA of that species that has been found in the Andaman Islanders of the Pacific, off Papua New Guinea. Now, bloody commercials. Is Jesus really God? No. Let's get. Anyway, the 5 individuals have been taking shelter in the Moroccan cave while hunting, possibly for gazelle and wildebeest, in what may have been a green Sahara. Yes, we know that the Sahara Desert is it's spread very recent. When these individuals were alive, these 5, they may have the Sahara may not have been as dry as it is now, because faunal evidence in the caves have suggested. Anyway, now, though their faces look a lot like ours today, these individuals discovered in Morocco had smaller versions of our brain region called the cerebellum and an elongated brain case, the researchers said. Now, this video, I can't. I had a friend who, Real Raven 2000, helped me set up a way to play videos, but I'm still not happy, and I've sort of fucked it up a little bit. So I don't. You can't hear what's the sound, but there's no sound actually. So I'm going to show you this video. It's just basically, you can read it while I have a drink, because I'm a bit parched. And I'll say hello to the people in the chat. Hello, Carlos David, Vercingetrix, Warped, Bam Bam, how are you, my friend? Oxy, hello. Who else is there? BJ Price, how are you, my friend? D9 Dragon, and everyone. Hope you're having fun while you're having a look at the reading of this. In fact, I'll put it like that. There you go, much better. I'll explain the skull in a little bit. Make sure you can see. Well, it's in the article, so don't worry about it. I'll explain. It's easy to find. So yeah, this is one of the individuals. This is where they found it. It's a nice little video. It just plays music behind it, so I'll just, you guys can read. Well, yeah, I'll explain how I feel about this. Okay, the video is finished. What the fuck happened here? I did a boo-boo. Sorry about that, guys. What the fuck is this? Ah, there we go. There we go. Back to now. I want you to have a look at this picture that you guys see now here in the. No, all right. I'll still read on a little bit. We know that these discoveries, the fossils are not Neanderthal. Well, they include a partial skull and lower jaw. During the excavations, the archaeological site of Jebel Irhoud in Morocco, which began in 2004, the site has a much earlier excavation history. Scientists have found some of the remains of the same individuals, along with stone tools, in the 1960s during mining operations. The fossils were originally dated as about 40,000 years old and were considered to come from an African form of Neanderthal. Now, I'm going to show you something. I'm going to get a bit down here. This is the actual one of the individuals that they found. If you want to have a look at some of the features, if you guys, I think you guys can see the cursor. As soon as it's put it 11, here we go. I think you guys can see my cursor. Now, some of the characteristics which you will find in this individual. He has a slightly prominent brow ridge, or the occipital lobe, but he does not have a completely he has the beginnings of a forehead. It's not completely sloping back. Now, the back of the skull is not as it's becoming rounder. Take a note of what I'm describing here. It's becoming more round here. But the most important thing that we can find from this individual, but before I go that, he had no chin. The part down here, humans have a chin, and I will show you in a picture with a Neanderthal and a very modern human, a Homo Sapiens Sapiens, and we're going to compare it to this guy. So let me just bring this down here, and we bring this one up here. As you can see, these two skulls. The one on the left, on the left is a Homo Sapiens Sapiens, our species basically. The one on the right is Homo Sapiens Neanderthalensis. The characteristics: the Homo Sapiens has a slightly smaller occipital ridge, which is the brow ridge, and he has a high forehead, while Neanderthals has a bigger occipital ridge and a sloping forehead and elongated to the back skull. And other things, he has no chin compared to the Homo Sapiens Sapiens, us, and also he also has a bigger nasal cavity compared to the humans. But that's not the most important thing. Notice the cheek area here on the Neanderthal compared to Homo Sapiens. We have chins which are more prominent, as well as our cheeks, as well as our chins. They are more prominent. The size of the jaws are relative to what they would eat, but the teeth are also slightly bigger in Neanderthals. But the main characteristic compared to here, to the new Homo Sapiens Sapiens that they found in Morocco, he had a chin, but he had still the slightly protruding eyebrow ridges, but his his forehead was becoming rounder, and the back of the skull was becoming more more like us, rounder instead of elongated. That's one of the most important things. The teeth. I would say I'm not an anatomist. I can only see the differences that I can observe. I see that the teeth in this individual is somewhere in between this sample and this Neanderthal. That's how I see it. I am not an anatomist. I am probably making a lot of mistakes here, but that's how I see the things. The blue area is the skull. He would have had. They've mapped with IR scanning and what do they call those uh, X-ray scanners? Shit, can't remember the name. But they've actually, from the inside of the skull of this individual, they could reconstruct the pattern of a brain. It's not just from our species, that we can do it for every living invertebrate that has a brain capacity, skull and skull thing. I need a drink. Sorry about that, guys. By the way, just how are you guys hearing me well? Do you guys hear me well enough? I know that there's a delay, but I think you guys can hear me well. Oh, thank you, Modron. Anyway, let's get back. So these are my personal interpretations of what I can see from the skull. Just to reiterate, humans have a raised forehead instead of the sloping forehead of the Neanderthals. The Neanderthals have smaller cheekbones compared to us, and this intermediate sample has a good sample, good sized cheekbones, but he has no chin, and he has slightly protruding brow ridges, or occipital lobes. That's the technical term. The cranial capacity would have been average to Homo Sapiens Sapiens to us, basically. So let's get back to the article. So we're going back here. Here we go. We are here now. Yes, here we go. We were, however, subsequent research casts doubt on whether those fossils were 40,000-year-old Neanderthal bones. For example, the excavations that collected the bones did not make it clear which layers of the earth the bones were found in, which makes their age uncertain. This is very, very important for an archaeologist. This is why, when an archaeologists don't just go out on the field and start digging. We have to plan it like a military campaign. Everything has to be right, because what we want is context. I mean, we really need context. We need to know in a three-dimensional space where the artifacts were found, artifacts including bones, etc. So we can date them, and not just date them. We can then get the matrix, which is the Earth surrounding it, and from that we can get a lot of information. The environment, if there's any material that was, even DNA. I've talked about this before. We have now extracted DNA, Neanderthal and human Homo sapiens DNA from the matrix surrounding a fossilized bone or so on. So this is why you have to be very, very meticulous in archaeology. I will stress this to the maximum. So this is what Sarah McPherron, an archaeologist at the Max Planck Institute of Evolutionary Anthropology in Leipzig, Germany, and co-author of one of the new studies. Lots of links in this article. click them. You will really like them. So I will continue to emphasize, don't go digging. If you know of a possible site near your area, please don't go digging. I beg you, don't go digging. Contact your archaeologist and the local museum, university which has archaeology, and say, look, we think you might be interested in this area, because archaeology needs all the data it can collect, and that's why they got the age wrong of 40,000 years. So, in addition, before 1980s, any human fossils that were about 40,000 years old and had primitive features such as the strong brow ridges, which I showed you, were often labeled as Neanderthals, whereas they might not be labeled that way today. Jean-Jacques Hublin, a paleoanthropologist from the same Max Planck Institute of Evolutionary Anthropology. This institute is where possibly not all, I know it's not all, but at least the majority of material is sent to be analyzed to try and get DNA data from. They try to extract DNA from every sample that is sent to them, and they are the top. They are the top. So I don't know if they've extracted DNA from this, by the way. I haven't seen anything at all on it. So, but we are getting close to every advance we make. We are getting closer, and we're pushing back the extraction of DNA further and further back in time. So, the new analysis reveals that all the fossils recovered from the site came from at least 5 individuals, 3 adults, 1 adolescent, and 1 about 7 to 8-year-old child, Hublin said. Those individuals date back about 285,000 to 350,000 years. Oh shit, what the fuck did I do? Oh, God damn it. Where did I go here? Sorry, people, I'm having technical problems. It's hot, and I'm but we're back here. So, I've said at the start, up until now, the oldest Homo Sapiens Sapien fossil bone material data was less than 200,000 years old. Oh God, I can't remember out of my head where, but it was found in East Africa, most likely in Kenya or Tanzania, Uganda. The three countries that are located in the Rift Valley, where, God damn it, I still think it as the quote unquote Garden of Eden. It isn't, you know what I mean. It's where we found most of the hominin species fossils in that area, because they are there. They were studied there. They were found there. We still have I had a map, but I can't find it. I tried to find it before I came on that showed the actual where we found all the fossils. But there's a huge area out of my memory. It goes from Senegal, Mali, Sudan, below Sudan, into the Congo region, and Angola, up until north of Namibia. That is just out of the memory that I saw the article. It's somewhere. I can't remember. I apologize. I should have linked it, but that is an area that we have not, that archaeologists and anthropologists have not studied yet. We have not been in there. We have not gone into the field and looked for all of the hominins. In fact, some time ago, when this Telegraph posted this clickbait article, we may have evolved in Europe before we went to Africa. Egypt Egyptanthropus, something other, that hominin that had 7.2 million years ago that was found in Bulgaria and Greece. Grecopithecus, that's one. Grecopithecus something. And in my discussion of it that I had in my stream, my what's new in what's up in archaeology, I put in the possible hypothesis that he's a continuation of Paranthropus. No, Paranthropus chadinensis, which lived 7 million years ago in the area which we know as Chad, in northwestern Africa. So, and I always said there that the Mediterranean was not a Mediterranean sea; it was periodically drying up desert. So, their range, those hominins would have ranged across a larger area than they do now. If the Mediterranean was full of water. So, yeah, let's get back to the article. So the dates are a big wow. Wow is an understatement. When they first saw these publications, I didn't say wow. My jaw dropped. Honestly, I said, "Fucking hell! Whoa!" I'm being a bit excited here. So that's what I thought. It's more than wow. It's a discovery equivalent to the Tutankhamun tomb by Howard Carter, but only paleoanthropology and archaeology. So then they realized how much older than anyone could have imagined. That's an understatement. Hublin told Life Science, this magazine. The materials represent the very root of our species, the oldest specimens ever found in Africa or elsewhere. I will add a caveat, so far. I'll try and, before when I finish this, I'll put in a link that genetically, I'll try and find out genetically, we have found that we separated from Neanderthals 500,000 years ago. Now, this date, 285,000, 350,000 years, it's so close to that genetic split. So I honestly hope, oh God, I honestly hope that, Priapus, that's the God I like to quote, that they do find older specimens yet of, it's back down, this guy, as he is, even with slightly more archaic features, but the characteristics that are enough to make him Homo Sapiens Sapiens and not Homo Sapiens Neanderthalensis or Homo Heidelbergensis or Homo Rudolfensis, because that would be bloody awesome. Now, let's go on. Yes, they looked like us. They would be very, very indistinguishable from any of modern humans living today. Put him in casual clothes, and he would blend in. Honestly, he would blend in. The study found that with computer models and hundreds of 3D X-ray measurements, the fossils suggested the numerous features of the face, jaw, and teeth were almost indistinguishable from modern humans. Their faces were those of people who could cross the street today. Yes, they would be. Yes. They would be slightly in the extreme ranges of our morphological features, I would suggest. Not in the medium strip, but in the extremes. The brain case was rather elongated, yes, resembling the more archaic human lineages, but as I suggested, but not as elongated as Neanderthals. I don't want to. I've showed you how they how Neanderthals had a much more prominent elongation of the back part of the skull. Now more cake human lineages. You can these blue. If you guys open up the articles I present you in my description, they have good links. You can continue to do your own research, reading, because that's how you learn. I'm not going to make it easy. I'm explaining it as much of as a lay person as I can, but I'm not going to make it easy for you guys. You guys have to do your own research. That's how you learn. So they found that the anatomical feature of these newly discovered fossils suggests a rather more complex picture of the emergence of our species than previously thought, with different parts of the anatomy evolving at different rates, some fixed quite early in modern way and others taking a long time to reach our modern condition. So like I personally interpreted the cheekbones, the teeth getting smaller, the skull's getting more rounded, so the forehead's becoming more upright and less elongated at the back. These are the features, and then the chin would grow a little bit, so the frontal part of the you develop a chin basically. This human would look like a Paul Giamatti, God, what's his name? Giamatti or Giamatti? Anyone want to help me in the chat? Paul Giamatti is a good actor. What did he star in? He has a sort of a weak chin type, if you can imagine a weak chin type person. Giamatti. Never mind. Let's go back to the article. So now dating crystals. The study in another new studies, research analyzed flint tools found alongside these fossils. So now, Vercingetorix. Thank you. That's the one. Giamatti. It came to be a little bit later. Let me just have a sip of the. I'm drinking again today some English barley wine beer. So, if you guys are interested or not, just. So, how did they date them? Well, they analyzed the flint tools found alongside the fossils. At one point, in the distance part, these stone artifacts were heated by flame. Perhaps when people lit fires, then inevitably burned the discarded tools scattered in the buried on or buried in the ground underneath. This brings up an interesting thing. We know that they were using flint tools. Flint is a very particular stone. It's the most common used tool, stone material to make stone tools, because it's a very fine crystalline structure, and you can chip it very accurately. To make the cutting edge of a flint tool. I'll give you an example. The sharpest bisturi, or the blade that plastic surgeons use to cut around the most micro veins and whatnot when they are doing reconstructive surgery. That steel blade is about 50 microns wide, right? You can make a knife that is 2 microns wide. Do you see the magnitude of difference? So that's just an example of how versatile flint is. Unfortunately, I don't have access to flint in my area, because I live in a granite massive area, just fucking granite everywhere, and you need to be in a more limestoney area, which is in southern Portugal where I live. because I don't know. I don't know the geological processes that make flint. I know that they are found in nodules with a sort of a calcareous covering on the side, and it's a silicate. And I'm just confused. But I know it's a awesome material to use. It is. I'd love to have about 500 kilograms of it in nodules, so I could do some archaeological experimentation or experimental archaeology in creating blades, flint blades, adzes, microliths, etc. Microliths are small blades, by the way. Yeah. The crystals within these. If you heat up flint, you alter the chemical, the actual chemical and to a certain degree, not just the chemical. No, you don't alter the chemical. You alter the actual crystalline structure of it, which makes it even easier to snap off blades and so on. But it also leaves, once it's heated up, it also leaves a way to date it. That's where these guys come in. The crystals they gave off light when their researchers heated them, and the amount of light that they gave off were relative to how much time they passed since they were last heated. That's called thermoluminescence dating. The analytical technique known as thermoluminescence dating suggests that the sites were 350,000 years old. We can only use carbon-14 up to, and this is stretching it, up to 70,000 years from present. The normal one is 50,000 years, but we can modern techniques have stretched it to 70,000. Now 70,000 to the dates that we are suggesting here, there's a lot, and we use other techniques. Thermoluminescence is one, and then we use other radiometric datings. I mean, radioactive decay datings from other materials, lead, uranium, lead, etc. These are the ones that are just coming off that I remember. Now, they've dated the sites. Well, the well-dated sites of this age are exceptionally rare in Africa. Yes, they've dated these sites very, very meticulously, but these sites are very, very, very rare in Africa. In fact, yeah, in Africa, because in Europe there are many more sites of that era, Eurasia, I should say. There are many sites that are old as from this time period. Except that in Eurasia, we have Homo sapiens neanderthalensis, Homo sapiens denisovians, and that other mysterious third one that we don't know about. But we were fortunate that so many of the Jebel Irhoud flint artifacts had been heated in the past. Yeah, well, it's easy to what they do. The hunter, the people there, they're most likely from the site. They would have had flint sources not too far away. So while they're sleeping overnight or whatever, could have been a small family. Who knows? Could have been even those 5 died and they were buried there or left there, while the tribe would have been the extended family tribe, hunter-gatherers, would have been slightly bigger. They could have used that site for their seasonal nomadic hunting, so they would have come back to that place a lot seasonally. So as they were in the cave, they would have, after they've eaten, they would have napped tools, because stone breaks. Stone tools break a lot. So some of the tools that they found there would have fallen onto the ground. They possibly built fires to cook and ward off other animals, etc., etc. Fire is cooking, heating, because in the desert it can be cold, and to ward off other dangerous animals. Would have heated below that. Would have heated the the flint litter. And that's why we could date them really, really well. Daniel Richter, who was the lead author of the fossil dating study, when he was at the Max Planck Institute in Germany, said in a statement. Moreover, Richter and his colleagues directly calculated the age of the human jawbone found at the site using radioactive isotopes found within the tooth, indicated that the jaw was as old as the thermoluminescence dating suggested. Fluoride, possibly radioactive fluorine. There are techniques to radioactive isotopes, not just carbon-14, that's one of them, but other radioactive materials that they would have used, because we absorb a lot of radiation, even though we think we don't. Natural cosmic radiation bombard us every day, so we absorb a lot, and they are deposited in our bones, teeth, etc., etc., which obviously survive after you are fossilized and that. If you die, they're the most in certain areas, like where I live, bone doesn't survive. As granite is acidic, so it'll dissolve bones and bone materials. But where they found these materials, it's more alkaline, so it would have preserved the bones beautifully, which they have. Now, the scientists were not able to recover genetic data from these fossils because of the heat. The age of the remains destroyed the DNA. But still, the elongated primitive nature of the brain cases revealed a number of facts about the biology of these ancient Homo sapiens. For example, they had a smaller cerebellum, the brain region that helps coordinate muscle activity, than modern humans do, which is quite interesting. Really, it wouldn't. We've learned from the Homo naledi that we can't judge brain capacity to ability. But that's just my take on the thing. Yeah, they had slightly smaller cerebellum, but they were not clumsy. That's what my take on is from this article. They were not clumsy humans. They were very, very efficient hunters. They had fire. They made exquisite tools. I hope let's see if below. Nope, they didn't show the tools, but I'll try and the tools are in another articles from other which I've linked in the description if you want to go. They were exquisitely bifacial, very sharp blades, small not very small microliths, but you can call them arrow tips or spear tips, etc. Cutting blades, adzes are to work wood, and really sharp blades to cut leather, etc., to make clothing to wear. When I say clothing, it's not like what we do have now, but more like wraps, possibly. Which would develop in. It's a very hot area, so they would have minimal clothing, maybe a wrap around the mid region, covering the genitalia, possibly. I don't know. We don't know. It hasn't survived, so just speculation. But yeah, what they say about the small cerebellum does not mean that they were clumsy or brutish or anything. It just means that their brains, that part of the brain was still smaller than what it is now. That's what my take on is, and I think most quite a few archaeologists would conclude that as well. Maybe anatomists as well would conclude that even though that they had the small cerebellum, smaller than ours. It doesn't say how much smaller, but God, I wish I could get the hands on the actual study, because it would show how much smaller the cerebellum is to compare to ours. Yeah. So. Um, Yeah, only previous research suggests a series of genetic mutations that play roles in brain development, that the connection of different brain regions emerged in Homo sapiens after the ancestors of Homo sapiens split from extinct lineages of Neanderthals and the Denisovians. And I will bet I'm still banking on Homo and Heidelbergensis. That is my bet is. This may explain the gradual changes in the brain case that we see that distinguish our lineage, he said. Another link if you guys want to click it. Animal fossils at the site also reveal that these ancient peoples ate plenty of gazelle meat. Gazelle's not an easy animal to catch. So that means that they were not brutish or sluggish in their actions, even though the cerebellum suggests that they had quote unquote limited coordination between. What did they say? So I want to make a fool of myself. The brain region that helps coordinate muscle activity. So yeah. Occasionally zebra, wildebeest, another game including perhaps ostrich eggs. Teresa Steele, the paleoanthropologist at the University of California, Davis. Cuts and breaks on the long bones suggest that humans broke them often. No, that's what they're talking about. The bones that they extracted the marrow, likely to eat the marrow. She added other animal fossils found in the site, including one from the porcupines, aurochs. Aurochs are the ancestor of all modern cattle. They were at the shoulders more than 2 meters high. They weighed about a ton and a bit, and they were fucking huge. They had fucking huge horns. So we humans later domesticated this animal to produce the cattle we have now. The God, I can't remember a breed of cattle that Hereford or whatever the fuck they're called. Never mind. I'm not I'm not a botanist, a biologist, so I can't remember them. But I know that the aurochs were domesticated into our modern cattle. Hares, leopards, hyenas, lions, foxes, jackals, snakes, tortoises, snails, and freshwater mollusks. Now, interesting. We have leopards, hyenas, lions, and foxes, and jackals in that site. No, they were not eating them. That we know of. We know from other sites. We know from other techniques because carnivorous animals, the meat is not quite palatable as a herbivorous animal. They could have used them for the furs, most likely, because the snakes, tortoises, snails, and freshwater mollusks, yes, they were food. The porcupines as well, the aurochs, hares, etc. The gazelles, thing. But the carnivorous animals, these guys, they were not food. I would suggest they were most likely killed for the furs and other. I don't have any evidence, and they don't suggest in this article or the study that they found any artifactual art, necklaces made from teeth of these animals, stuff like that. There's no indication, so I will just say that these animals were killed for the fur, which was insulating, long lasting, and even to they have a distinctive smell. They could have used them in their hunting, the furs, etc. But this is speculation from my part. I will just say that they were most certainly used as as they were killed for their furs because they were very insulating. These soft if you treat them well. You don't have to cure the cure hides isn't that difficult. You just dry them up and you just rub them a lot until they become food. And once they're preserved, they become long lasting. Rub some fat into them and they become supple. So into the back part if you want to maintain the hair, etc. So yeah, I would say that these animals were hunted, or they're not hunted. They're just accidentally killed because they were attacking them, and they would have used the fur as for any of uses. So yeah, things the overall picture looking for in archaeological data is a hunting encampment, place where people passed across the landscape, took shelter at night as they moved through an area in search of subsistence. Yeah, I said that. Yeah, completely correct. That's what they did. This was a shelter. He says stayed overnight. I would suggest possibly stayed for a little bit more than overnight. They would have hunted a bit, killed a few animals, then moved on to another area once most of the other resources, which obviously included plant material, would have been slightly used up. Because these were the first conservationists. So it says up until now, the oldest Homo sapiens fossils was found in Eastern Africa. Yeah, Homo kibish in Ethiopia. I missed that one. I apologize, people. I'm reading this as you guys. I haven't read this, by the way. So I'm also reading this as I've read the study though, but I have not read this article because there were 5 of them, and I picked this one because it looked okay to me. It had that skull and showed the picture. Didn't have the stone tools, but none of them had all of the elements. So that's where they found the oldest up until now Homo sapiens sapiens fossils, and this suggested that they originated there. But now the new found 300,000-year-old fossils from North Africa suggest the species might not have evolved in a single area in Africa. That's this guy's conclusion, and until I get evidence, I'll accept it. Until I get facts that contradict this, the study suggests this more or less the same. The articles that I've sort of could find bits of the articles, the actual study. I'll accept this until we find something that contradicts this. So I'm not going to debate it. Yes. And it does suggest that it didn't that we Homo sapiens sapiens did not evolve in a single area in Africa, rather than a combination. Rather, these findings in combination with a 260,000-year-old partial skull of Flores Bat, South Africa. That's the one the other one that they found, 260,000-year-old. From a 1996 study suggests that there might have been from Homo sapiens, because now we find this skull and we see another skull that was found some slightly earlier, and we say, shit, these two look similar, let's test them. And lo and behold, the Flores Bat skull is very similar to this one. So now we have 2 skulls quite close in time, older than the oldest one in Ethiopia, but close enough, or in between. Ethiopia, 200,000 more or less. South Africa, 260. Morocco, up to 350,000 years old. And do you see the pattern? I see it. It means that, firstly, we haven't found the exact place where we possibly evolved. They're really restricted, but that's not important. What's important is that we moved a lot in Africa. There's no barriers, there's no sea, there's no great mountains, there's tropical forests, there were some deserts and some non-deserts, but you can go around them. You can go along the coast, etc. And it's feasible. Yes, it's exciting. Once we start looking in the hidden part that I mentioned at the start, and we start hopefully find more samples, the picture will come up, will evolve, will come up. So he asks, is there a quote unquote Garden of Eden? Is it Africa? Yes, it is Africa. That's point one. But the size of it is the size of Africa. Yes, the quote unquote Garden of Eden. Shit, why don't I fucking use those biblical shit references? They can say we evolved there, man. Come on. Oh shit, what happened? Did I stop sharing? Why is it stop sharing? Oh, it's back. Sorry about that, guys. Went all weird. The model is one where there is probable evolution in different populations of Homo sapiens in different parts of Africa. Yes, absolutely. I concur with that. I concur. Yes. Sometimes there is some kind of isolation between them. Exactly, possibly because we can see the different speed of certain parts of our skull, how they have evolved quicker than others. Between them, then there's other periods that were connected when the environment changed. The Green Sahara periods happened several times in this time frame. During these periods of connection, we think that there were an exchange of innovations and exchange of genes. Yeah, we did the whole, we got down to the multiplying and stuff. Of course we do. Humans love that. Humans go forth and multiply, using a biblical term. So one of the Green Sahara periods may have occurred between about 300,000 and 330,000 years ago. From the data we can extract from these sites, that's why it's important not to just dig. You have to dig meticulously so you can get all the data. The grassland, there were grasslands over the Sahara. There are rivers. We know that there are dried rivers, huge lakes. Yes, we know about those. Some, it says here, some the size of Germany. The fauna included elephants, zebra. We know that from this cave, the animals which I have already mentioned, gazelle, aurochs, etc., etc. And now, so over this huge area, the Sahara is the size of the United States. They would have met and mixed. So that's why it's a period that these periods happen again and probably playing a role. And we think that these episodes of connection between different populations of Homo sapiens. That's the end of the article. And yes, just finish that off. Let's see here. That's one of the studies I was mentioning, but it's not complete. It's still a slight summary. That's the cave or the area where they were excavating, and I suggest you read it. But yes, this is exciting. A really exciting period, because it's pushed back our species age 100,000 years easily, and damn, I'm excited about it. So I think we can end it here. We've concluded, as I hope I tried, that Homo Sapiens Sapiens evolved all over Africa, and not just in the Eastern Africa. And I'm not even going to just speculate here, throw it out, that there are other hominins, contemporary or otherwise to us, or even before our species, our ancestors, etc., that also had regional populations that once they met, they sort of produced the variations that we see in the fossil record. Okay, I think that wraps it up. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Question time. Okay, yeah, okay. Let's see if there's any questions. Where were five skulls found? They were found in the. Go back to this site. I'll share it again, BJ Price, just for you, mate. The site which they found it is this one. You can see it here. I think you can see in the yeah, that's the one. This site, mate. It's in Jebel Irhoud in Morocco. Yeah, that's where they were found. I don't know where it is, by the way. So just use Google Maps. Oh, sorry about that, ruler of stars. Remember, I always start at 10 p.m. London time for the future reference. Let's see. Yes, 5 skulls were found. No, 5 individuals were found, not 5 skulls. Some had skulls, some didn't, etc. These are 5 individuals, 3 adults, a teenager, and a child. That's what they were found. What was found. Not necessarily 5 skulls, but I would say the 3 adults and the teenager may have had the complete skulls. The delicate 9-year-old, 7, 8-year-old child's skulls would have been more delicate, so they may not have survived. Any other questions, guys? I would, Carlos David, I would absolutely fucking freak out, loving it if we did found his grave. I don't know. Cool, Price, BJ, mate. Okay, people, thank you for coming on. I hope I didn't bore you too much. I honestly, I don't consider myself a great communicator. I think I'm beginning to get this down, and I've improved. So every time I will try and improve my delivery. But if I don't, oh man, my delivery is me. So I think I can live with some constants, and so on. But as long as, mate, I love presenting this. I love talking about this, and I wish I had someone here, but those cunts, they know who they are. Didn't want to, but it's their loss. But thank you, guys. I'm going to go offline now, and see you next week. I'll try and have another exciting. Well, I can't promise that, but I'll try and deliver it as exciting as I can. I have some new material which I picked up this week. I'll have to sort through it, and next week we'll see what happens. Yeah, people, if any of my new subscribers, which, oh God, I am so grateful for you guys. I hope I don't disappoint you. The new subscribers. I will only do one video per week, because I want to get the best articles that are being published, and I've seen a pattern that they mainly, sometimes, not always, sometimes they come out on Thursdays, like this article that I've been reading today, and sometimes they come out on Sundays while I'm at work, which is also good because I have good. I don't get bothered too much at work, and I can sort of copy paste and prepare into my folder where I keep all the articles, which I will then collate. That's how I do my stuff. Yes, Mudwayne. Most definitely, I'll try and make your stream, mate. God, only if there's a really good reason which I don't make it. But yes, you can always count me on. And to my new subscribers. Oh, thank you guys, and see you next Monday. Unless something really important comes up and I have to make another stream, which is unscheduled. But this one is always scheduled, same time, 10 p.m. Monday, London time, 10 p.m. London time. So GMT +1 or UTC, whatever the fuck. It's GMT, mate. GMT, Greenwich Mean Time. I follow that time, the London time, with daylight savings, of course. So thank you, people, and see you next week then.